probably ask me, how did I get into chiropractic?
Of course.
I mean, it's like I knew, and this is my own spiritual journey. I knew at 2 years old, there was a chiropractor that lived in my neighborhood, and chiropractors could be a little eccentric for the normal person to understand, but everyone thought he was a quack. When I think back now, the man was like light years ahead of time. In any event, I said, I don't care what these guys say. I don't care. My best friend said I thought I was crazy. It's a strange, strange world. And for me, all my instructors come from a time when they were in touch with the founders of chiropractic. They've created the universities. They've created the curriculums. And they held on to the principle and philosophy of chiropractic. That's why chiropractic still exists today. It is crowded, traffic. My reason for leaving Long Island was Ginger and I, when I graduated chiro school, and we'll get into this on the podcast too if you want, but
we're in it.
We're in it. Good.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Well, my home, when I first got my first associateship, was only like 4.5 miles from my house. It literally took me 30 minutes to get there. It took me actually 15 minutes to get from my house down the block and make a right. There was the expressway, Long Island Expressway, and it was unbelievable. So it just took me about 30 minutes to get 5 miles.
Yeah.
So after doing that, we said, I said, there's something else going on here. And then I got a job in Sunnyside, Queens. I was doing great with my associateship, and he wanted me to open an office for him. So he put me in, he built an office, put me in, and I had to build it from scratch. So basically, I had to learn how to manage an office, get patients, the whole thing chiropractic was. But it was just like growing up in Long Island was one of the greatest things because I was at the beach, I was in the water. I mean, you can't beat the ocean.
Yeah, you can't.
It's like Jersey, right? Not like Staten Island, but like Jersey.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I always tell them because I was
the Jersey Shore.
They make fun of me, but I say I'm a coastal boy because I grew up literally less than a mile from Long Island Sound Beach. I know there's not a Jersey beach, Renee, but it was awesome to have. I had in Fairfield, there's Jennings, Penfield, South Pine, and Sasco, and Southport Beach. 5 beaches.
Beautiful beaches.
That you could just go to, that I had access to all the time. A bike ride away.
Yeah.
All growing up. And I'm sure your childhood was the same where it's get dirty outside, play with your friends, come in with
eat dirt.
Yeah, exactly. Drink from the hose.
Eat dirt. And, it's like, if you get into, like, what's going on now in health, it's just, I was listening to a podcast yesterday, and they were talking about how the powers to be, and we can get into that, but they're trying to get everyone to believe that the body's immunity needs a vaccine or needs something outside itself to be healthy, And the whole chiropractic premise, God bless chiropractic for teaching us this, is that your body has an innate intelligence. It's an inborn wisdom. You don't have to think about what the body needs to do. You just have to support it.
Right.
This whole idea is a financial coup on the body. And humanity is going into a very interesting direction now.
Yeah.
You're getting, and this is my generation. I'm a baby boomer. So my generation is probably the last generation in the near future that's going to have herd immunity to diseases. And what's happening with all of these products that are going into people's arms and into their mouths and into their bodies from the pharmaceutical companies is it's blocking their ability to become immune resistant.
Right, to any new whatever that's coming their way.
Now you need a vaccine to prevent a disease. Is that crazy? So the generations behind me are basically eventually going to have problems, and they are having problems now. I see it in kids.
Yeah.
I've been in practice almost 40 years. I've seen kids when I started, and they're coming in now with a whole new set of conditions that
you never
40
saw.
years ago we didn't see.
And that's food, and I feel like it's a accumulation of a bunch of things.
Yeah, chemicals in the environment, food, processed food,
the water.
Water. I mean, but the biggest thing is what we're doing to ourselves. Mom has the kid with a fever. What does she give him or her?
Advil, Tylenol, whatever. One of those.
Fever is supposed to be there to break the cycle of the disease,
Yeah,
right?
you're
That's why would nature create a fever? Fever burns the bacteria and viruses out. So if you suppress it, what are you telling the body? Well, next time I better get that thing again because I can't take it. So the body will go into a hyper response, and the next time the kid will have a big fever. Parents get all freaked out. Oh, it's 103. That's not going to hurt anyone. And then they'll try to suppress it. And what do? They just keep suppressing and suppressing and suppressing. So if you suppress something long enough in the body will adapt in a negative way because the energy has to go somewhere else, right? It has to do something else with it, right? Where does it go?
Right.
It's going to hit another system. There's some other compensation the bodies have to go through.
Right.
It's a strange world. And for me, as a chiropractor, in chiropractic, and you probably asked me, how did I get into chiropractic?
Of course.
I mean, it's like I knew, and this is my own spiritual journey. I knew at 2 years old, I wanted to do something with my hands. I had an experience where I was playing with my friends. It was a bright sunny day, probably in the spring or summer, and we're out in front of my house. And I had 3 friends there, and we had these little go-karts we were kind of sitting in, and I was like pushing. And suddenly, I looked at my hands, and I saw there was this energy light coming out of my hands. And as a kid, I go, oh, cool, what the hell is that? And that kind of image was imprinted in my psyche for my early years. So I said, maybe God's trying to tell me I could do something with my hands. So my friends and I, I was like 9, 10, and we had this guy who was in a band. He was a drummer. He was a little older than us, and he was getting all the girls. He's like, So we said, oh, we got to become musicians.
Yeah.
So
classic.
My friend.
I was in a boy band.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It was a kind of a mimic of LFO and Backstreet Boys because there was just a couple of us, but we didn't. A couple of them played guitar. I wasn't really there yet with the guitar skill, so I was like, I'll be the singer. So funny.
You can sing. It's great.
No.
I can't sing.
I'm like Disney singing.
Yeah, it's funny. So me and my friend Bruce, we said, all right, let's take lessons. So we kind of learned a few songs, and I said, oh man, this is how I could use my hands. I can play. I'm going to be a musician. And I always was enamored by musicians and their musicianship and how technical they were, or artists like that can paint. And it never really panned out for me. I went into another direction. I said, well, I'm not really the greatest.
You still
guitarist.
play though, huh?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Oh yeah. So yeah. That's awesome. You have that as a hobby.
Oh yeah.
That's a great thing for the brain and that's awesome.
It's amazing. And I look at this place.
Yeah.
I was looking in there. I said, I can set up a couple of Marshall amps and really,
yeah,
good
it's
sound.
inspiring. Yeah.
And I said to myself, what am I going to do with my hands? And all through high school, I'm going, I got to do something with my hands. And everyone's saying, well, you got to go to business school. You got to do this. I said, I don't want to do that. What am I going to do? I know what I'll do. I'll become a writer. I'll take English courses. I'll read and I'll start writing. So my next adventure was to get a degree and go into advertising. I figured I can write copy. So I take a couple of courses at this School of Visual Arts in New York. And the professor or the guy that was teaching the courses, he would come in half lit, half loaded.
Yeah.
I said,
sounds like Tony.
Yeah. I said, this is advertising? I mean, he was half in a bag every class. And, it was just like
kind of depressing almost.
It was kind of a farcical, like we were talking about LA. It just felt like so not deep.
Yeah, this isn't what I want.
I was looking for something philosophically deep that I could devote myself to. And the advertising world was a great, fun place to be at that time. So I went up to a few agencies and I interviewed, and I went to one agency. It was a big agency, and I interviewed with an art director, and he said, he's interviewing me. I'm a young kid. Must have been 19, 20. I said, what do you want to do? And I said, well, I want to be a copywriter. I want to get into advertising. He says, okay, so how long do you want to work here? I said, as long as I can. How long have you been here? Well, he said, the life expectancy in an agency for any individual is like 1 to 2 years. because what happens is, you're as good as your last project. Mm-hmm. It's a very competitive field. Mm-hmm. And a lot of these guys, writers and art directors, they would move from one agency to another, and they would form cliques. And suddenly they would be in a clique with their friends who were now in the business. Mm-hmm. If someone had an opportunity there, they would all move there. Mm-hmm. I said, that's kind of transient. Mm-hmm. You can make big money. I mean, I have relatives that were in the adage who are multimillionaires. But the thing is, it didn't feel right to me. Mm-hmm. I said, what's my purpose here? To write an ad about soap or is that my deal? I'm gonna be a great advertising soap writer, and I could
Squatty potty.
Sell some soap on TV. So I go into another field. I mean, I had a lot of interesting experiences, but I'm getting to a point here because
no, of course, I love it.
The point is, you never know how far-reaching your karma is going to take you if you have any faith. So I said, all right, what do I want to do then? Well, now, I want to travel, but gee, let me see. I want to travel, but I'm broke. How can I travel? I know. I'll become an airline flight attendant.
Wow. Did you do it?
Yeah.
Wow.
So what happened was...
What's that? How's that like? What do you do?
I'll tell you. There was this regional airline in Republic Airport. She probably knows where that is. In Republic Airport in Long Island. And I found this little charter company. So we would fly charters from Republic Airport to Martha's Vineyard to Atlantic City. And being a flight attendant was a kind of overglorified description of what I did. But I was the guy that loaded the plane, we had charters, and it was a twin prop 52-seater twin prop Convair aircraft. And we would fly all over the place, and it was fun. And I'm in the air one day, and I have the drink cart, and I'm looking at the outside, and I'm seeing the ground suddenly coming up. Usually the pilot, there's a cue when you're a flight attendant. They give you a buzzer or a cue, and it beeps. He never cued me that he was coming in for a landing. So I'm standing there in this aircraft with 50 people on board, and I'm going to land standing up with this drink cart,
Oh, my God.
It was like the Wild Wild West.
Yeah.
So I said, this might be a little too regional for me. Let me see if I can go to a big airline. So I tried to apply to, like at that time it was Eastern Airline and United and it was American Airline. And I didn't get hired because they weren't looking, I wasn't the flight attendant type.
Yeah.
I wasn't, there was a certain kind of type that they wanted. But I found a job where I was working in cargo. So I worked for this airline called Korean Airlines, and I was doing cargo. So basically, it's sitting in a warehouse and putting stuff on planes, and I did all the calculations to balance the plane and send it over to Korea or whatever. And I said, there's no purpose here.
Yeah.
And then I said, but, maybe I can make a career out of this. Now, there was a union called the Teamsters Union. And you know what the Teamsters Union was, a powerful union, right? It's one of the powerful unions that used to be associated with airlines. I don't know if it is now, but it probably is. But as a kid, I was like 20, 22, 23. I was looking for a big pay raise. And if I got into the Teamsters Union, I had benefits, triple my pay. I mean, it was like a golden parachute being in the union. So I was at the cusp of becoming a union member. The week before I was to be accepted in, they fired me.
Knowing you had a week left, obviously.
Yeah. So I'm driving around the airport, and I said to myself, I said, no matter what, first of all, I'm devastated. I'm like driving, I'm going around JFK like in circles and stunned.
Yeah.
I said, there goes my car, there goes my apartment, there goes my, I'm living home with my parents again.
Yeah.
I said, I'm never going to let anyone hold a dagger over my head ever again.
I know.
I said, I got to find a way. And I still had that impression of I want to do something where I can use my skills somehow hand-wise. So make a long story short, I got another job.
No need.
And I'm in New York City, and I'm working for Canard Line, which is like another travel business.
Agency, yeah.
If you know what the QE2 was, right? QE2 was the mothership of cruises. And I worked to book that ship. I worked for Canard Lines. And I'm on Fifth Avenue. I'm right next to St. Patrick's Cathedral. I'm like 2 blocks away. So I would go to St. Patrick's for lunch, just to sit there and get some quiet, meditative time.
Cool.
And I'm sitting there, and I'm just kind of mulling over, where am I going? I'm not happy. It's not like I'm sitting behind a computer and I'm talking to people and booking a ship, which is nice, but it's not really. It's a waste.
Yeah, you're just making money and
time,
living. Yeah,
I'm freaking making time again.
Yeah.
So I have all these experiences where I was just making time, and I said to myself, God, can you just give me some sort of clue here? What's going on? And out of the corner of my eye, if you ever been to St. Patrick's Cathedral, have you ever been there?
It's that big church in the city, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm not from. I've been in the city a lot, but then I have to see the image.
You gotta be there.
I've definitely been there. I've definitely been in there.
So I'm sitting there, and if you walk down the cathedral on the right side or left side, there are these places where you can light candles.
Yes.
Right. So there's one area where there's a place where there's a picture of Jesus Christ, and he's wearing a thorny crown and he's looking down, eyes closed. And I looked over there, and his eyes were open, looking at me. And I was like, you ever get a shock of lightning through your spine? It was one of those experiences. I said, I'm a Jew, first of all. And I said, okay, Jesus.
Yeah.
What are you trying to tell me? What's the answer to my prayer? Because I was praying, where do I go from here? So not long after that was in March, a little past a couple of weeks, I get a postcard from a good friend of mine from college who had become a chiropractor. And she said, I'm having an open house. She was in Massapequa. She said, come down to my office. We're going to have a party, right? So I went to her office, and, I said, first of all, what is this thing called chiropractic? What is chiropractic anyway? And actually, the first time I ever heard the word, I was at a swim meet. I was a competitive swimmer in school, and it was the last meet of the year, and a lot of the upperclassmen were talking behind me, talking about what are they going to do after they graduate. And 2 guys said, no, I'm going to chiropractic school. I'm going to chiropractic school. I said, what the bleep is chiropractic, They couldn't tell me, So I had no idea, but I heard the word. It kind of rung in my ears, and it's like, this is such a strange word. What is this word? So my friend Denise, she invites me in, and I go to her office, and I see all these people getting adjusted. I see families, I see kids, I see older people. One by one, there's like tons of people there. There's partying, she's adjusting people. I said, Denise, what the hell's going on? What is this stuff? So she pulls me aside, and she says to me, chiropractic is really simple. Your nervous system is your master system. It's run through your spine, and what we do is we release the pressure on the nerves to allow your spine to conduct life force. That's what she told me. I said, cool. She says, come with me. This is what we're going to do. So she took me to the exam room, and she said, I'm gonna do a chiropractic exam on me. And she examined me, and she took some x-rays. Now, I had migraine headaches as a kid. When I was 8 years old, I fell out of a window onto my head, didn't kill myself. But weeks later, I was walking with my friends. It was a bright, sunny day. And suddenly, I went blind. I couldn't see license plates. I couldn't read. It was like my eyes were blocked. And halfway home, I started getting this pounding headache. It felt like a sledgehammer hitting inside my head. I go into the house. I tell my mother, I got this mad headache, Mom. She says, lie down. But meanwhile, every sound, every movement in the house was like excruciating. And I was nauseous. So for 2 days, I was in a dark room with a bucket next to my bed because I was throwing up. And I suffered this major, major migraine. And it went away. And then, my mom said, are you okay? I said, fine, but it started coming back periodically. So the doctors she brought me to said, he'll grow out of it. There's nothing we can do about that. They had no clue. And for years, I would have these headaches. Now, they eventually kind of dissipated a little bit. And I was a competitive swimmer, so I always had this tightness in my back and my neck. And my posture was, because I fell, I didn't realize it at the time. I had what's called a compression fracture of one of my mid-back vertebrae. And the nerve to that area, from that area, goes to the kidney. And I had kidney problems. It's like if I had to go to the bathroom, it was painfully urgent. I remember one incident. I was in New York City and at an Elton John concert now in Central Park, right?
Wow, Central
that
Park.
Awesome.
Right?
Yeah.
But here's the awesome problem.
No bathrooms.
There's no bathrooms in Central Park where you're like back to back. There's people.
Yeah.
And
you're
suddenly,
in pain?
oh man, suddenly I had to go. Number one, right? I'm dying and I had kidney pain. I always say, right? That kidney pain.
God.
And I'm saying, all right, is there a tree? Where can I go? So they had the portal sands way up there, and there was lines like you wouldn't believe, 10 deep. So I conned my way up to the front. They let me in, and finally I got that handled. But I always had little kidney issues, like when you're holding urine, it's painful. And I never realized why, and the doctors couldn't find anything. There was no infections, nothing like that. So make a long story short, my friend Denise, when she x-rayed me, she found two things. She found that I had a compression fracture back, and we traced it back to that time. But also I twisted two bones in my top of my neck. And I was a layperson, so I could see the bones were like twisted. There was no getting around that. That was twisted. So she says, lie down on the table, lie face up. And she proceeded to give me a chiropractic adjustment. So she took that little bone and she kind of lightly put it into place. And I heard an explosive sound in my head. But after that, I got up off the table and I suddenly can see colors like I've never seen them before. And there was a sense of like extreme lightness. Like, we talked about, having an out-of-body experience. Well, I had an out-of-body experience. I was like, and that lasted for 2 weeks. Right?
That feeling?
That feeling. Wow. That's how much my nervous system was suppressing my life force. I was walking around in a half-life state of expression. And I'm talking chiropractic to everyone I know. What are you doing? Oh, I went to what's a chiropractor? Oh, they're quacks, blah, 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 blah. I say, Dad, I went to a chiropractor. What's a chiropractor? Blah, 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 blah. It's quack, quack, quack,
Yeah.
There was a chiropractor that lived in my neighborhood. And chiropractors could be a little eccentric for the normal person to understand. But everyone thought he was a quack. And when I think back now, the man was like light years ahead of time. In any event, I said, I don't care what these guys say. I don't care. My best friend said I thought I was crazy. What are you going to this?
Tony always says that to me. I just ignore him.
You do?
Yeah.
I don't say that.
You're a quack?
Yeah, that's what he says.
Do you know where the term quack comes from?
Ducks.
That's a good guess.
Yeah.
It actually comes from dentistry.
Oh, no
Because
kidding.
back in the 1900s,
Dentists are kind of quacks.
Yeah, Tony hates dentists.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, well, this is what happened. German dentists back in the 1900s migrating to
Tony doesn't like
United
Germans
States.
either.
Well,
No, I'm joking.
He's from Staten Island.
Yeah, he doesn't like a lot of people.
It's a whole nother
Anyone
world.
who's not Italian, really.
Got to be a Staten Islander.
Seriously. You know.
But, the German dentists, to make fillings, use quicksilver. And I think the German translation is quack something.
Oh.
So all the dentists in the States would call these German dentists quacks because they were using a different material to fill the cavity. That's where the term quack came from. But it followed chiropractic because chiropractic in the inception, when it was developed in the early 1900s.
Yeah, by who?
It was by Dr. Daniel Palmer. Daniel Palmer was he was a bone setter. After the Civil War, or during the Civil War, he was trained, very brilliant man, in Europe to set bones and fractures. That's what a bone setter was. So Palmer was working in his office, and he had a little studio where he would do, these kind of manipulations on people. And the janitor in his building came up to clean his office, and he started calling out to the janitor. The janitor didn't respond. He started nudging, what's going on? And the janitor was totally deaf. He was deaf. So Palmer, instinctively, knowing a little bit of anatomy, said, do you mind if I just check a few things? And he started to palpate and feel his neck and feel his spine, and he found a couple of vertebrae in his neck that were really twisted out of alignment. Now, earlier in this janitor's life, like you,
I just got an itch.
Yeah,
Tony.
You feel it. This janitor had an incident where he was bent over in a broom closet and twisted his neck, and he started losing his hearing. So Palmer took his hands and he manipulated, at that time, manipulated that area, and that joint kind of fell into place. And sure enough, within a few days, that janitor's hearing started coming back. So Palmer goes, Eureka! I found the cure for deafness, right? So he started advertising. He was in Davenport, Iowa. Come to Palmer. We can cure deafness. So we had people coming in, and he was putting his hands up and down the spine, and he was checking where the misalignments were, and he was trying to rack them back in. And he noticed that he didn't find the cure for deafness, but he did find that people were getting healthy. He had a patient who was a reverend who had, I believe it was heart conditions. He started getting well. And this guy was so enamored by what Palmer was doing. He says, you have discovered something that is miraculous. You got to give it a name. So Palmer asked this guy, okay, Reverend Weed, his name was, give me an idea. So Weed knew Latin, and he kind of put two words together, kairos. Kairos means hands. And practice, the practice of hands-on healing, chiropractic. So Palmer started writing and studying, and his son, Bartlett Joshua, or B.J. Palmer, started following his father's footsteps. Palmer was a young kid at 16, but he started to find, he was a brilliant scientist. Both of them were brilliant men. And he started to take on his father's teachings and started to do research. So his son, B.J. Palmer, actually took the profession and developed it. Palmer discovered it, but the father and son didn't get along. They were enemies.
What?
The family history is noted for being combative.
Really?
The problem was, because they were combative, they had to go in two different directions. So the father went to the West Coast in Portland, and the son stayed in Iowa. And the son opened a school, and the father opened a school in the West Coast. But the son was a little bit more straightforward with the reality of what chiropractic was going to be. Father was quite a cantankerous guy, brilliant guy, but he had a whole different idea. And he started to bring the profession into light. Now, and doing so and teaching people how to adjust and what chiropractic was, they based it on a science and a philosophy of healing. And they believed the science supported the philosophy. The philosophy was that you have an inborn life force, intelligence, they called innate intelligence, that by adjusting the spine, and we call it an adjustment because manipulation is a crude maneuver, and adjustment is a specific maneuver to find and locate the specific area where the nervous system is being impinged the most. And it's like in the old days, we had TVs where you had to adjust the knobs. That was the analogy. It was like you had to fine-tune that bone to get the right response so that the life force can flow. So that's what Palmer studied all his life. And he was actually focusing on two bones in the neck, the atlas and axis, the first vertebra and the second vertebra of the neck. That's all he would focus on. And he had people coming in with cancer, with heart disease and stomach problems and psoriasis and asthma, and you name the disease. And these people started getting well just by moving that bone. And he's written volumes of books. They're called the Green Books. So this book is filled with philosophical, but if I read the science now in 2023, and it was written in 1906, they are well ahead of where science is now in neurology.
I've heard science be called a religion, actually, and that what you're talking about is actually, truth, basically, and like the religion of science for, Western medicine, for example, they've taken science and turned it into like almost an occult religion, and it's crazy. But what you're talking about is healing and a totally different thing, the energy within our bodies, which is proven a fact that like when people die, they've done studies where their energy leaves the body.
Absolutely.
So it's really interesting.
And there's no question about that. When you talk about science, a lot of what they call science is really corrupted. Because as it happened, and this is what happened in chiropractic, chiropractic went along its merry way, but the powers to be, the AMA, medical doctors, medical schools, they didn't like the fact that chiropractors were starting their own school of healing. They were basically monopolistic in terms of their thinking about health. They didn't believe that manipulating or adjusting the spine is any cause or cure of any disease. And chiropractors don't cure disease. We don't talk about disease. We talk about dis-ease, which is loss of balance, loss of ease. If you look at the word disease and put a hyphen between the S and the E, it's a dysfunction, right? And what happens in the body when it goes into a dysfunction? That's what people see as disease. You see all sorts of maladies, cancers and ulcers and digestive problems. So, our license is basically based on our science and philosophy. We don't prescribe medications because medications don't cure disease, and we're not going to put chemicals in the body to interfere with this life force. That's going to be the functional problem, the functional component to cure or heal the body. In any event, in the 1920s, the Rockefellers, who owned
just gonna mention
oil companies,
Yeah.
Medicine was going bankrupt.
Yep.
So the Rockefellers stepped in.
Yep.
John Rockefeller stepped in and said, look, I've got all this oil. You guys are going bankrupt. Here's the deal. I'm going to support you guys, but you got to support my pharmaceutical
endeavors
agency because this is they used oil residue to make drugs.
Yeah.
And that was the deal.
That was it.
So obviously now chiropractic was blacked out because we weren't
all holistic medicines. All holistic medicines were blacked out for sure.
Specifically chiropractic because we were the most powerful group on the planet who changed the face of holistic medicine, bar none. Acupuncturists didn't do it. Naturopaths didn't do it. Reiki people didn't do it. Chiropractors were fighting to keep that philosophical and that science pure. And my instructors come from that era. They come, all my instructors come from a time when they were in touch with the founders of chiropractic. They've created the universities, they've created the curriculums, and they held on to the principle and philosophy of chiropractic. That's why chiropractic still exists today. In fact, we had sued the AMA in 1987, I believe.
And what's the ADMDA?
The AMA, American Medical Association.
You added a lot of letters in there.
American Medical Association.
Okay.
AMA, for monopolistic practice and for trying to suppress chiropractic. And we won the suit. Trouble is, we didn't go far enough to cash in. Now, Big Pharma owns medicine. They own the journals. They
own the media.
They own
it's ridiculous.
The media. So you don't hear chiropractic as a household word. And to this day, people are still
even today.
Oh no,
really? Maybe it's just because we're in the area that's like Fairfield County.
You have University of Bridgeport, Chiropractic College.
Yeah,
but people don't really. If you talk to the average person and do a survey, they did a survey many years ago about chiropractic to people, and fortunately in Connecticut, people didn't have a good or bad; they were neutral. But they had a lot of unknowns about chiropractic. And to this day, I still have patients who are suffering, scared to go to a chiropractor. Afraid of what a chiropractor will do. They watch too many movies. But there was a lot of black PR or
propaganda.
Propaganda.
The propaganda machine.
There was a propaganda
coming
machine.
in hot.
And it was only a few years ago before COVID. They were putting billboards on I-95 saying chiropractors can cause strokes and And this was done by a group of medical doctors, and we traced them back. They were in Florida, and they pulled their stuff together, and they were buying billboards disparaging chiropractic, and we stopped them by law. We got them to stop, and we sued them. The thing is, people are missing out on what's going on with their bodies because they don't really know, and this is why I'm so worried about the younger generation, because parents inadvertently are bringing their kids up with too many shots, too many drugs,
100%,
and not really understanding what creates health.
The immunity is built via getting sick in dirt and this and that. It's like, fight it.
Right.
Break that wall. I'm stronger now. Send me something else until you're an adult. And it's very rare that you get sick if you take care of your system.
I have a question though. Like with, because you're saying that chiropractors weren't claiming.
Who's this?
This is Renee over here.
Just joking.
I don't have a camera, but
I was just
it's
joking.
me. Like aren't claiming to cure cancer, aren't claiming to cure these things, but people are getting better. Now, were people getting better from continuously going and then eventually not going anymore, and then like that type of thing? Or why wouldn't you be able to say, oh, from that readjustment and alignment, it opened up the energy flow and the nervous system to cure that problem? Why can't you say that?
Well, Renee, it's a great question, and the real reason it's very simple. It's a question of license and the way the laws are written. Medicine, again, is a monopoly of treating disease, okay? Their treatment is either drugs or surgery.
Which is a continuous cycle.
Yeah.
Most of the time, it's ridiculous.
People are on drugs all their lives, and that's basically
what they want. And that's spending money. You're wasting money, effort, energy to just bandage.
Well, before we, totally bash medicine, because...
I know. I'm not totally.
It
needs to be heard.
Just to give a little bit of extra time. I'm not going to give him too much license.
Yeah.
Because I don't respect a lot of what medicine has done over the last 3 years.
Right.
But medicine has done a fair job in helping people, and there are great dedicated doctors that are real. But it's a funny thing. After COVID, I start to hear these medical doctors talk. They're talking chiropractic. For years, chiropractic been talking about health. We were talking about
chakra system, energy flow.
We were also talking about the hazards of drugs, the hazards of vaccines. Now, because of COVID and the vaccine, the backlash, the doctors who were talking and speaking out against them have lost their position, lost their credibility, lost their standing in their communities in terms of the medical communities. They lost their jobs.
Yeah.
They're talking chiropractic. They're talking, wait, we have safe and effective treatments that really save people's lives. But the pharmaceuticals and the government, and they're in bed together, have stopped them from really expressing and being forthright with that. And they've really slammed it down. They're really guilty of crimes against humanity at this point.
Yeah, 100%.
The number 3 cause of death in this country is medical care.
Wow.
So you go to a doctor and you get some sort of drug or treatment, you got to really know that there's a risk.
Yeah.
And the way I describe this to patients who are real doubters, who are really kind of like analytic headies.
In the matrix?
Yeah. I say to them, okay, so let me ask you something. You know what malpractice is, right? Malpractice insurance? Right. How much does your doctor pay a year for malpractice? How much would you think your average intern pays a year? And by the way, are insurance companies stupid or smart?
We know the answer.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah, we know the first.
Can they add up numbers? Can they predict how much outflow is going to be compared to how much inflow when they have a case, or the actuarial tables of how long you're going to live based on your age, your health?
They don't know anything.
They know everything.
Do you think
insurance companies?
You think they know?
Oh man,
about me though. Like, how could they know really who I am? And
you don't know. This is statistics. Do you ever see the movie Moneyball?
With Keanu.
No, you guys.
That's
got
Hardball.
Oh, sorry.
Brad Pitt
Moneyball.
and Jonah Hill.
Oh,
Great
no.
movie based on a true story.
Right. So a Moneyball, their whole philosophy was to look at the player's statistics,
Right.
not their ability.
Of course.
How many times they get on base?
Yes,
How many times they steal? How many times they,
And what's the calculations to get the best? What's the best? Yeah.
And
what's
they
gonna
built a
happen?
team based on the statistics.
Yeah.
Insurance companies know how long you're going to live based upon what your health is now, how many drugs you take, where you live. I mean, they can predict your lifespan. They can predict almost everything about your existence, believe it or not. So they're not stupid. They look at medical doctors and they say to them, okay, you're in a risky business. You can get sued. The average internist pays $60,000 or more of malpractice. The average surgeon can pay a couple $100,000 a year or more.
Wow.
You know what chiropractors pay for malpractice? It's less than my car insurance. Now, if insurance companies were saying we were killing people or damaging people, don't you think that I'd be paying like $60,000 a year?
Right.
So the thing is, look,
You're saying that's your proof right there.
I say, look at the statistics. Why would your insurance company, medical doctor, pay so much malpractice when, how safe is chiropractic? You know?
Right.
So insurance companies know because they've been covering us for a long time. In any event, as a sidebar on that. But, my gripe is the fact that, we as chiropractors, we're mostly independent practitioners. We belong to organizations. Our organizations, there's quite a few organizations. We have a great organization in Connecticut called the Connecticut Chiropractic Council, which I helped found. And they support chiropractic the way chiropractic was meant to practice, which is understanding the philosophical idea, practicing the science that supports the philosophy, and getting that kind of message across to their patients. And the fact of the matter is, if you go to one chiropractor or another chiropractor, and it happens to my patients all the time, they get a different brand of chiropractic depending on which office they end up going to. So that becomes their model of chiropractic. We don't have a unified voice that the public can say, that's chiropractic.
It's almost like Christianity. Honestly, that's what it sounds like to me. So many like different sects of Christianity. It's almost like it could confuse someone who doesn't know.
So
is there like a reason for that?
Yeah. For what?
For having so many different, I guess, ways to practice.
Yeah. That's a great question, Tony. The reason that my interpretation is that the universities that are teaching chiropractic now, they're losing the message. They're watering down the techniques. They're watering down the philosophy.
I was going to say, yeah, sure.
People don't come out of chiro school with a real chiropractic degree. They come out prepared to take a board that will give them a licensure.
Right.
But they're not taught the heavy premise of chiropractic. And that I have to tell you is institutional. There are a few universities in chiropractic, in my opinion, that are solid with giving their students the opportunity. It's never forced on anyone, but the opportunity to kind of tell it straight.
Yeah.
You go to a chiropractor and one guy is using this modality, another guy is. I have patients that come into my office that have been to chiropractors, and again, I'm not beefing on chiropractors. I love chiropractors, but my only beef is most of my patients come in and I say, "Have you gone to a chiropractor?" And they say yes, and I say to them, "Okay, if you've gone to a chiropractor, did they tell you this word called subluxation?" And they go, "What's a subluxation?" So the chiropractor didn't tell them what the subluxation was. And basically, the subluxation is what we talked about earlier. It's when the bone is out of alignment and it presses on a nerve, causing loss of mental flow of impulses through the body, resulting in what we call dis-ease, all right? They have no clue. They were never told that story. I mentioned that word to you.
Of course.
Right?
You said, hey, subluxation. Nice to meet you.
You said it, right?
Yeah.
So the thing is, without a unified definition and nomenclature, which we do have in chiropractic, because the Palmers wrote the books on it, and that's really
He's
the
taking
Bible.
notes. Oh, sorry for the show. Sorry. I thought she was taking notes for actually learning.
Well, I mean, we have this
She's
episode
time
for
stamped.
life.
No, I love
So,
it.
I mean-
It's so good. It's
How
so,
am I doing?
Oh my God.
doing great.
I'm soaking so much in right now.
All right.
Yeah.
So without that nomenclature being consistent in every chiropractic office, because they're not taught in university, some universities disclaim the fact that there's a subluxation, which to me, if you're a chiropractic university, how can you disclaim the basic premise of chiropractic?
It's blasphemy.
Right. Is that like, is there some type of outside influence that is
It
like,
sounds like it.
like is Big
always-
Pharma getting involved?
Probably.
Well, Tony, you hit the nail on the head. And what's happening is
See, the conspiracy is the truth, Tony. Whatever you think,
everything's
is,
a conspiracy.
Right.
yeah,
Right,
It's
right,
the
right.
truth.
But guess what? The bottom line is, where do you follow?
Stone Cold said so. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's all about what? Money.
Money. Do you like money?
Mr. Wonderful. Money, right? It's all about money.
Yeah.
They have to fill their roles and they have to get students in.
Renee's
so-
like that. She has that mentality. Renee. She's
About
all about the money.
God bless you, Renee.
No.
Are you married yet? God bless your future. But you know, the thing is, and women should be taken care of. I totally believe it.
Financials, yeah.
Yeah, I totally believe it.
Yeah.
And we should be able to take care of them. That's the thing.
Yeah.
But the thing is, look, they're not taught, and the schools are suffering from low enrollment, and they got to do everything they can to appeal to the most people they can.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of my classmates in my particular school, I went to school on Long Island, New York Chiropractic College, which since moved to Seneca Falls, New York.
How are
And-
they now? Are they still good? Be honest.
Not up to my par.
Okay. I feel like I feel like you should kind of step into this role of
I was just gonna say that.
What do you mean?
uniting
uniting the chiropractic world.
Oh, you don't
You
know
love it.
Wait, you don't know chiropractors.
They're tough.
Chiropractors, the hardest group in the world to market to about chiropractic are chiropractors.
They know it all.
I'm telling you, you get 2 chiropractors or 3 chiropractors in a room, you got a problem. I'm telling you, they're the hardest group to convince that chiropractic is chiropractic. And that's
So
because
frustrating.
It's frustrating because and I know deep in their souls they really want to be chiropractors, but a lot of people go into chiropractic as a shortcut to becoming doctors. To be honest with you, when I was in school, I had 120 people in my class, and the orientation went like this. We had this wonderful professor, Dr. Violini. He was in his 70s, goatee, herringbone jacket, bow tie, about 5'4", steps up to the podium, and with love in his heart, he said, "If you tell your patients and help them move, you will be successful. Chiropractic is about motion." And he was talking about life force motion, and he was talking about ambulatory motion, physical. And then the president of the university at that time came up, I won't name him, said, "Look to your right, look to your left. One of your friends is not going to be here at the end of before graduation." So we had an attrition of about 25% of our class, all right? And a lot of my classmates were in chiropractic for the shortcut. You know, they didn't want to go to med school. They wanted to get a doctorate. And then there were a few of us that were in it for the gold. So we sought out, and I had a group of friends. We sought out chiropractors in the field that we would go on our own time and sit and listen to them talk, watch them adjust, went to their offices, got the spiz, as we used to call it, spizzerinctum. We used to get spizzed up. You know?
Wow, it's a new riz.
Wow, yeah.
I like that.
That's a
spiz.
chiropractic term, got spizzed and indoctrinated. And I had this wonderful experience from a chiropractor who's a very renowned chiropractor in our profession. His name is Pat Sarasoli. He practiced in Brooklyn. Now, Pat practiced in Brooklyn off the Gowanus Expressway in a neighborhood. He had a house, but underneath his house, he had a church. He could fit 200 people in that church of chiropractic. And every Wednesday or Tuesday or Wednesday, he would fill that room up and give a chiropractic health talk.
Cool.
And he had hundreds of patients. And at that time, they were paying $3 a pop. This is like in the 50s and 60s through the 70s. And he was a multimillionaire.
By the end of it, like towards
He was
the,
a multimillionaire, right?
Just
But
from
just by talking chiropractic. Didn't do anything else but adjust. Tell him that there's an innate life force in you. I'm going to release that life force. Get on the table. Explained it to them in a kind of a sermon, because he was a great orator.
interesting.
And so when I started my practice, every Wednesday night, I'd have a chiropractic orientation. If you were a new patient in my office, I sat you down with a bunch of other new patients, and I gave you the speech.
Yeah.
I told you that chiropractic is not medicine. It's about your life force. It's about relieving pressure on the nerves. We went through the whole litany of things in a half hour. At the end of that half hour, I had new patients because everyone wanted to run and get examined, right? Because that's the way chiropractors built their practices. They told the story. And we're not broadcasting on, now with social media.
Yeah, it's
and
crazy.
now with, it's crazy. So you get a lot of, and you guys, we joked about it, the video we made about cracking.
Yeah.
And, we're trying to reach a younger audience.
Yeah, you're out there.
And that's like, back in the day, if you said crack your spine to chiropractors, it was like saying, come get me, devil. I mean, this is like my mentors would be rolling in their graves. They didn't realize it. But my mentor, actually, he bought a hearse. He was in New Jersey, Dr. Satilli. He was a Napolitano Italian. He was like, you know what I mean, Tony?
Mm-hmm. Yes, of course.
All right.
He feels like he's at home the way you're talking
Tony,
about Italians right now.
Tony, so he bought a hearse, and he painted on the hearse, you could either get chiropractic or see me, and I'll ride you to the cemetery. B.J. Palmer, he was an aficionado of the circus, Barnes.
The Barnes and what is it?
The Barnum.
Barnum and Bailey Circus.
Barnum and Bailey
right?
Circus, Bridgeport.
So he had a house in Sarasota, and that's where the circus, resided in Bridgeport too. But he would ride his elephant down Main Street in Davenport, Iowa, with signs on it about chiropractic. So chiropractors went to jail for practicing chiropractic. They were, they were put in jail because they were practicing medicine without a license. It wasn't medicine; it was chiropractic.
Riding elephants in the street.
They were riding elephants in the street. They were crying from the rafters, to get people's attention. They did some great, crazy things to get people to understand chiropractic. And these practices were explosive. They had hundreds and hundreds of patients.
It's your turn to ride the elephant down Post Road.
Who's gonna pick up after the elephant?
Tony.
We got to get the elephant first, I think.
We could work on it. You guys got a lot of stuff.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, Facebook Marketplace.
Let me know.
Elephants. Yeah.
Rent an elephant. I'm sure there's
Michael,
there's got to be.
you can get the elephant. I'll ride it.
All righty.
Serious.
Yeah, no, that would be hilarious.
And it would be hilarious.
Yeah.
And it would be
We'll
actually
do it on the
fun.
day that he did it too. That would be the shtick.
We'll find out.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. That'd be cool.
But that's what chiropractors did.
Yeah.
They spoke out. They weren't afraid to
be
confront.
brash.
They were put in jail, and they didn't give up the profession for what they believed in.
There should
And
be
they
a
were-
chiropractic superhero comic book
Yeah.
Actually,
where
you
he
guys-
where he has like and he's just like you saw the light and
See, this is
yeah, that'd
you guys,
be cool.
You guys are brilliant. You're giving me new life.
Yeah, this is awesome.
I want to ask you a question.
Sure.
Because you were saying before that you had you were a swimmer, right? And did you do that competitively?
Yeah.
Do you see?
Renee competitively swam in the 8th grade.
Yeah, just so you know.
I have a pool in my backyard and I swim sometimes. My dad runs treading
Yeah. Workout.
training
Drills.
for
That's
us,
good.
drills.
Yeah.
No, but do you see a lot of athletes? Do you recommend for athletes? 'Cause there's a lot of injuries
Oh, my
through
goodness.
all sports. Is there a lot of athletes?
Soccer, football. I've taken care of professional athletes. I take care of local athletes, chiropractors
He's
on
taking care of
sports
one
team.
professional athlete right now.
Who's that?
Me.
There you
No,
go.
stop it.
Stop it.
Stop. It's ridiculous.
Athletes. One of my colleagues actually takes care of Olympic athletes. He takes care of the wrestling team. Another one takes care of the track team. Another one, is a chiropractor who takes care of the water polo team and coaches the water polo team.
Oh, cool.
All right. So chiropractors are in sports big time. You don't hear about that. When I got my sports chiropractic degree, I had a special degree.
Oh, wow.
My professor was the chiropractor for the New York Giants. And he had 7, was back, 90, when did I get my degree? 86, 87, 88, around there. He had 7 of the Giants come in at our graduation and testify to us about how chiropractic not only saved their career, saved their health, which was most important to them. How Dr. Phil took care of them. He was also the on the boxing commission in New Jersey. All right, so chiropractors have been in sports for eons of time. The San Francisco 49ers in 1989, they won the Super Bowl. Roger Craig was into chiropractic. The whole team was under chiropractic care. They won the Super Bowl. After that, every NFL team the next year had a chiropractor. Chiropractic is in every sport you can think of. Wimbledon, all right, there are chiropractors in the locker rooms
Right now?
adjusting. Yeah.
What about
Tiger
Wimbledon's
Woods
right now. Yeah.
Definitely.
pickleball people? Because since that's such a high thing right now.
Stop.
Chess players.
Let me tell you, chess players, right?
They get their
They get
fingers.
carpal
Sitting
tunnel.
down all
Chess
the
play.
time, though. It's betting it's not good
And they're
for your
sitting,
back. Yeah.
and they're moving those pieces. But pickleball is really dangerous because you got the over 50 crowd playing.
Oh, yeah.
They think they're
I have
25.
2 patients that injured their spines. One fractured his spine,
Oh, my goodness.
falling on his butt.
For pickleball.
Pickleball.
Oh.
You take a
Talk
bad
to
tumble.
orthopedists
tough.
and ER doctors. I'm telling you, pickleball is bringing them in.
Wow.
That's why our buddy
They cash
Barnes
it in.
I
hates it.
believe it. My dad got really injured last summer vacation playing pickleball because he did not properly prepare.
Yeah, they're all
Serious out there.
With
you know.
properly
you got the
prepared with
older
proper-
athletes. It's a fast little pace game, but
Yeah.
they're all trying to play like they're 25.
Yeah,
It's a lot of fun.
it is.
Do you play, Doc?
But no,
no.
He's
no,
smart. He knows what to do.
No, I don't. I wish I surf.
Yeah.
I
He's falling
surf.
in the
That's not
water is
dangerous.
okay.
I'm
Yeah,
a water
yeah,
guy.
yeah.
Water guy.
Here or I mean, actually, I'm
Well,
assuming not
when
here.
I was living out, I had a house in East Hampton, and I'd go out to Montauk and surf. I'm not there now. I sold the house, but I got to figure out another way. But the fact of the matter is, chiropractors in every walk of life you can name. We're in hospitals. We're in where is it? There's a very famous medical center that now has Cleveland Clinic chiropractors. My current mentor, Dr. James Cox, has written 3 books that are the essentials for any physical therapist, chiropractor, orthopedist who does any spine work to read. He's probably the most clinically sound and intellectual chiropractor I know. Brilliant stuff. So I've studied with the best of the best in my profession. The top docs in our profession, I've had the opportunity to have one-on-ones with and learn from. So it's a matter of where chiropractic is going for the future. Are the chiropractors now encouraged and enthused to really practice chiropractic? It's so simple. The practice of chiropractic is so simple, but a lot of chiropractors don't know how to simplify it for themselves to express it to patients because they can have booming practices. They do add a lot of technology, which is there's wonderful technology out there for healing joints and tissues and whatever. But I found in my own career that the average patient doesn't want to spend their life in a chiropractic office more than 5 or 10 minutes. You don't want to go to a chiropractor and have to go for an hour and get a massage, get rubbed and dubbed. You want to get a result. How long does it take me to adjust you?
I mean, we talk because, but if
Michael
we weren't
talks.
talking 5 minutes, in and out.
Yeah.
In and out.
And my analogy is like I tell my patients when I give a report at times, I say, because time is a funny thing. In medicine, they time you because insurance says, the consultation should only be 7 minutes for this CPT code, and that's all we can give you. And I'm telling you, doctors operate on codes. These codes give them dollars. So whatever they do, it's timed. All right? They come in, they do this, they send the nurse in, EKG, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
That's all under certain codes, and they have X amount of patients a day, and they are stuck in that rut. Chiropractors aren't. But the fact is, an adjustment takes literally minutes to get a profound change in a person's physiology. Dr. Jen, my associate, and I, we literally every day, there isn't a day that goes by that a person doesn't get adjusted and get up and say, oh man, I feel so much better, or I can't believe my knee doesn't hurt anymore, or my headache's gone. We never get complacent about that, because to us, that's the miracle. We never lose the fact that this is what the body is doing, because we're doing it with intention. When we touch the spine, it's with the intention of relieving that nerve pressure. And then we get out of the way. And then I have patients that always want to complicate things. Oh, doc, what should I do now? Should I do heat? Should I do that? I said, no, go home and have fun. The analogy I was going to get to is like, Mary, the adjustment only takes a few minutes. Oh, doc, why am I spending X amount of dollars for only 5 minutes of your time? I said, Mary, let me ask you something. I want you to stand by that wall. You see that switch over there? Turn it off, okay? Okay, so it turns off the light. I said, now turn it on. I said, that's a chiropractic adjustment. That's your life force now on. How much is that worth to you? How much time did it take to turn the power on? That's as simple as the body gets. Why do we want to complicate health? We start to think in our heads instead of our hearts and understanding what the body is all about. You get confused. It's really insane. And I'm talking to a younger generation here, and whoever's listening, I don't know,
Yeah.
Everyone.
Don't complicate your health.
Yeah.
How many drugs do you think are going to make you better?
I know. It's ridiculous. You need the less.
How many
the better.
drugs do you need to be healthy the rest of your life?
I know.
The drug companies want you on their docket the rest of your life, from birth to death.
Literally.
Can't you figure that out? Gee,
I know. Start with that at least. Start with just following the money. If you're not listening to anything health-wise, just follow the money and see it's all kind of a little directed towards, you hurting yourself almost just enough and them healing you just enough to keep it in a cycle of continuous.
They want you from birth to death. Look, in COVID, children did not get COVID. Why do you want to vaccinate a child? Why do you want to put them at risk for heart disease, myocarditis, pericarditis? Athletes are dying all around the world.
I know, left and right.
Because of
the blood clots.
The blood clots
Those
from the
things
vaccine.
they're like this thick. They're coming out.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. Even there's not what are they called when you go? It's when you pass and the funeral. The guys that
the morticians
are
when
coming
they embalm
out.
You.
Yes, they said they've never seen anything like this ever.
It's unbelievable. And look,
sorry,
you were gonna say something.
Oh, I was just gonna say. Also, you were saying from birth till death, but even I was looking at
even beyond death, Tony.
Statistics on miscarriages from pregnant women. Like it's killing the kids in their womb. The percentage of miscarriages post vaccination was like from here to here from the graph. It was insane.
You guys didn't see, but on the
for
graph,
the
it
people,
went from here to here.
The graph Renee was showing, actually.
The United States has a higher infant death mortality in the world.
And
we're a developed nation with the highest infant death mortality.
I think there's something behind that too, honestly, with all the we haven't talked about it a lot, but you can go see Sounds of Freedom. We haven't seen it yet, but there's a huge child sex trafficking world out there that's billions of dollars industry, and I have a feeling it's tied to that. I have a feeling the U.S., sadly, the country we love so much, all of us here, so much, is one of the biggest spenders in that world of that.
The United States, we just had our Independence Day. We should be interdependent, not independent. And we are interdependent.
Actual sovereignty.
We're interdependent on each other, but we need the right facts. We need the truth.
Yeah.
Health never came out of a bottle. It comes out of the ground. It comes from the food you eat.
Yes.
It comes from the exercise you do, the rest you get,
the sun
the
you
mental
get,
attitude you have, and it comes from a continuously flowing nerve supply. That's the master system of the body, and chiropractors are the guardians of that nervous system. And if you protect the nervous system, and you get exercise and you get rest and you know how to manage the body. And there's technology, and we talked about quantum physics, and I think the chiropractors of the future are going to be using quantum physics to energize the cells and tissues of the body.
And frequency sound healing too is huge.
Know? And we might not always be hands-on doing that, but the principal philosophy and science in chiropractic is leading into that milieu.
Yeah.
So it's a wonderful thing. I mean, as a chiropractor, I can't imagine not adjusting a person yet. I mean, I do a lot of things. I could do things over the internet with people, and I can actually measure and test them over the internet, believe it or not, because this is a quantum universe. And basically, there's ways of doing things that are scientifically shown to do it. But if you don't have someone touching your back and touching you, first of all, when was the last time a medical doctor touched you? Women get touched more, but it's prodded and probed and squeezed than it is examined and therapeutically resolving something, right?
Yeah.
It's all diagnostics. I mean, how much diagnostics do you need? Do you need to go for an MRI every time you have a backache? Do you need to have a CAT scan when you feel a little dizzy? I mean, we're overly tested and medicated. And it's costing us millions of dollars. I had a patient, I'll give you this story. I don't know how much time we have left, but
as much time as you need.
I had a patient, she came to me, a very wealthy woman with a real chronic back problem. And I said, well, how long have you been treating this thing? She said, I've been treating this for 5 or 10 years. I said, well, what do you think your out-of-pocket was in all those years to solve your problems, which isn't solved because you're here now, right? She said, I can tell you, with my surgeries and everything, it was over $500,000. Right? This is medicine, right? She was in my office like 6 weeks, and she was almost 100% symptomatically free. Now, I'm not saying pat on my back, but chiropractic's back, because I was taught how to work the body, understand what it needs to have done, what it needs to be free of, where it is. I'm taught to locate it, find it, get rid of it, and manage it. And she healed. And we have a saying in chiropractic. We say we move the bone and get the hell out of the way. Let God do the healing.
Yeah.
How else do you heal?
Yeah, people don't really put two and two together, that there is a physical body, but there's a spiritual body as well. And if that spiritual body's out of line and out of whack, you'll see physical symptoms manifest.
Yeah. Well,
it's
you said it before. We talked about cultism. What's the definition of a belief? Do you know what a definition of belief is?
You could spell in belief, lies
to believe
in there.
Something.
Yeah.
What is the definition of belief?
To basically, it's almost opinionated. Like, it's not fact. It's not rooted in fact. It's you're just trusting. But you could, with belief, you can't spell belief without lie.
Well, this is one definition of belief: a feeling of certainty about something. It's a belief. It's not, like you said, it's not based on fact. It's a feeling.
Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah.
Based on a feeling. But if you're taking facts, it's not a belief. Here's the fact.
Yeah.
You take a match, you got a flame, you put your finger in it,
Ow.
and it's going to burn you.
Yeah.
That's a fact. I don't have to believe in gravity.
Yeah.
Gravity's a fact. If you believe it or don't believe it, if you jump off a building, you're going to fall and hit the ground, right? So people come in to me and say, well, I don't believe in chiropractic. I said, well, not a religion. We're a fact. It was science. We have a philosophy that gives us a purpose for what we do, and we use science to express that purpose and keep moving a body into health. It's a fact. If you have a bone out of place like I did in my neck, it's a fact. Somewhere along the line, I'm going to be sick. Whether it's a migraine, whether it's a stomach ulcer, whether it's a heart condition. And if I move that bone out of the way of my life force, it's a fact. I'm going to have a potential to not have that or to be healthy. That's the fact, right?
Right. Talk about the Cox technique a little bit with people too.
The Cox technique, Dr. Cox, back in the 60s, he took a technique that was developed in the 40s, where instead of an adjustment where you're manipulating the joints, what we call an osseous adjustment. You're taking a light force in a high velocity and moving the bone. He's distracting or stretching or opening the nerve channel from different directions. And he has a special table he calls an instrument, which we have in the office. And it's a very gentle, extremely safe and
Feels
effective
like
technique.
heaven. If you have issues down there.
Yeah. But it's really a scientific marvel in the sense that what it does is it actually increases the opening where the nerves come out of the spine. If there's pressure in the disc, the disc is a tissue with fluid in it, like a hydraulic system. But if it's squeezed, the fluid starts to spread out into the nerves. It decompresses that. It opens up the channels to the brain, to the upper centers of the brain, the precentral, postcentral gyrus, opens up the spinal cord so that the messages start to flow through in a circuit, blocks the pain messages, all in one.
It's like,
all in one.
Yeah.
And that's typically what an adjustment does. But this adjustment, I've been using it for 16 years on patients. It's so comfortable, so easy to apply. There isn't a patient I can't treat. My oldest patient was 97. He just passed away.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. And the fact is, you can take care of a myriad of problems. And also, it's great for people who are wary of having their neck twisted, as they say, or the back crunched, It's nothing to do with that.
No.
People don't understand that adjustment doesn't require a crack to make it called an adjustment. An adjustment is the result of what a chiropractor does to that word subluxation by reducing it. If we find that subluxation with Cox technique, with upper cervical technique, there's so many techniques, and we reduce it, that body is in a state of optimum function. And let the body heal and let the body function.
Right. I like that it's saying, let us crack and get out of the way. I really do like that a lot.
Move the bone and get out of the way.
Yeah.
Let God do the healing.
And, can you explain to people what exactly is that crack? People, what is that?
The phenomenon of that cracking noise is anatomical. The joint has 3 different ranges of motion. It has an active motion. It has a passive motion. And then if we go a little further, it has a paraphysiological motion where you get a kind of crack. That's a normal motion. But what it is each joint is surrounded in a capsule and there's fluid in the capsule. And in the fluid, there are micro gases. So when you do that paraphysiological stretch, the pressure in the joint changes and those little gas bubbles pop. It's like opening up a bottle of champagne.
Cool.
Same thing. So it's celebratory.
Yeah, of course. It feels great. It's very relieving. I was actually thinking about just the healing journey and everything. And, obviously we talk about it all the time. There's days that are better than others, but it's all ultimately leading to healing, basically. And 9 times out of 10 of getting cracked, I'm coming up off that table like spring action. Whereas when I'm laying down, I'm like,
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely.
It literally takes the body and puts it into a neutral state where the body wants to adapt. And now we talk about this intelligence in the body, right? It's pretty intelligent. We don't call it innate intelligence for no reason. It's not innate stupid. It's innate intelligence. It's got a degree. After billions of years figuring out how to organize cells and tissues and create a being, it's pretty freaking smart. So why do I have to outsmart innate intelligence? Let it do the healing. Oh, I got an adjustment and I got a fever. Yeah. Innate said, let's burn off that crap.
Whatever that was, yeah.
Gee, doc, I got an adjustment and it aches now. Yeah, you're healing. Gee, doc, I got an adjustment. I have to go to the bathroom more. Yeah.
Yeah. That would be Tony.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Doc, I've been shitting my pants.
Yeah, well,
what
you know.
happened?
These are things I hear from it. Gee, doc, I got an adjustment. It didn't feel right afterwards. Yeah.
No shite.
Yeah. So the thing is, like, people, what the hell is wrong with you? What are you so afraid of having a response?
You bigots.
What the hell's wrong with you?
Well, if you do something, you go to the gym and work out. Are
Yeah.
you sore the next day?
Yeah. Nobody.
You heal it, right?
I think people are afraid of pain, and I was thinking that with like the medicine thing of I have a fever. Being in pain is uncomfortable, right? Other than just letting it pass.
Yeah, but
and going through
Well,
it.
you said the word.
But that's the thing.
It's not afraid, it's fear.
It's taught.
Yeah.
It's fear.
It's
are we not
taught.
taught? Wait, are we not taught? Think about the pandemic, which I don't think was a pandemic, and we can get into that. But think about this nonsense we just went through. It was the flu, which was cured by actually very, very safe protocols that doctors were using, but the powers that be chose to make it a pandemic. And
A circus.
now it's a fearful thing because they're already talking about the next pandemic.
I know.
Now
I
I've
know.
lived. I'm a little older than you guys, so I've lived 6 decades or more. I've been through crap.
Yeah. This was.
I'm still here.
Yeah.
I've had the measles. I've had the mumps. I had chicken pox. I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get vaccinated like you guys. I only got 3 vaccines. You guys are getting like 72.
Mm-hmm. Well, not me. I'm not gonna lie. My mom's an Eastern European woman.
Right.
She was not about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Thank you, Mom.
I was lucky to be born when I was lucky. The thing is, you guys and this generation,
The ones below us too.
and they want to keep adding more. They want to now add the COVID vaccine to their mandatory vaccine schedule. They're already getting 72 vaccines, and the COVID vaccine is a genetic alternative to the body. It's a dangerous thing. And I know some people are going to go out there and turn it off and say, "Oh, he's talking out of his hat," but
No, not anymore. The information's out there.
But
at this
anyway,
point.
the truth is the truth, and I'm not afraid to speak the truth. And I tell my patients the same thing.
Yeah.
But the fact is, we are in a culture of fear of health or disease. And that's promulgated because what's happening in the mass media, what's happening in medicine, is promoting disease. How do you keep people paying for drugs?
Mm-hmm.
You got to put fear into their lives.
Yeah. Yep. 100%. And then why would they want to, if it is all about the money and control, as we know, why would they want, you or me or anybody to know this works, that works, like what we were saying, the sun, the this, the that, everything compromised into one, because then they don't have a patient anymore. They don't have a client anymore to make
They're out of
money off of.
business.
Yeah, they're literally out of business.
I mean, these pharmaceutical companies are making billions of dollars. They're looking to make trillions because they're
And-
going to add more vaccines to the schedule.
The craziest thing is about these pharmaceutical companies is you can't sue them. There's literally in the law for them.
Well,
that-
Reagan passed the law. Reagan sponsored and passed a law in '86 that prevents liability to drug companies for vaccines. Now, what company?
Why do you think that is? You know what I mean? It's like so obvious.
Because they have the #1 lobby in Congress.
Yeah.
What else is they?
I know.
And they went to Reagan and said, gee, for every dollar we're spending on R&D and this and that, we're paying 20 on litigation. Well, you're killing people. Someone's gonna. If you had a business and you were killing people, and the government said, "Don't worry about it. You're free and clear. No one can sue you."
Mm-hmm.
There's no business on the planet
Like that.
other than pharmaceuticals.
Yeah.
So how is that going to change? I have no idea. You guys got to vote.
It's the truth.
Gotta run for office.
And that's the thing. It's honestly even things like this. Education, information helps change things. And the sad thing is, though, like you said, the past couple years, I mean, they've reversed ideologies, like sound things in our country, for example. They've reversed, and the country that I'm living in right now is certainly not the same country I was living in 2019.
No.
That is a fact. The United States.
Where was your mother from?
She's from Bulgaria.
More like that.
Oh yeah.
And Russia.
Uh-huh. I mean, yeah. I mean, it's
Think about it.
So democracy is another, and I don't go do the research for yourself. You want to be sovereign, it's not through democracy. Democracy then leads to socialism, and then after socialism, it's straight to communism. And then once you're in communism, it's over, basically.
Well, there's a big push worldwide for populist governments and a central government, central currency, digital currency.
CDC, the CDC, Central
Yeah.
Digital Currency.
Yeah, so banking currency,
Yeah.
CDBC.
CDBC, thank you.
Right.
July, it's actually, the Fed now should be live. I don't know. I think July, they're activating Fed now. And what they're going to say to everybody in the world is, because Cash App and certain, how banks, you can't access some big money at times, 24/7.
Yeah.
Easy transactions. Probably, I'm assuming, maybe even no fees type of a thing. Come be Fed now, but it's control at its finest.
We were talking in the office the other day about kids, and the kids are going to get chips in their wrists and their brains, and they're going to be able to play video games. That's the big law. And they're going to be able to be monitored, and they're going to be looking at. Anyway, we're way off where we should be.
Yeah.
This planet is spinning on a different axis, and the thing is, this is where chiropractic to me is like groundbreaking and keeps my feet on the ground, because I'm always going back to the basics. If you look at the real basics of life, what does everyone want? Everyone wants to be healthy.
Loved.
Everyone wants love. They want friendships and community.
Community. Family.
Think about what we've went through the last 3 years. People were divided. We were fighting each other. We were isolated. People are out of balance. The liquor stores were open, but the churches and the synagogues, they got to close them. COVID didn't like churches and synagogues, but they loved liquor stores. Who's running the show? And the thing is, we are, but we got to speak up.
That's the thing, and that's
speak up,
if
guys.
you've noticed in the last 100 years, and that's actually things like these shows that are out there. We're not the only one that's helping educate. That it comes back to this. In the last 100 years, we have not maintained education on the laws of the land. For example, maritime law. Nobody even knows what maritime law is out there. People don't even know, they're not sovereign citizens. They don't know that the Washington.
Wait. They don't even know that Washington's the capital of the United States.
I was going to say it's
or the Atlantic Ocean's on the East Coast.
It's a world.
Wait a second.
It's a crazy world.
You're way ahead of that.
I know.
Yeah.
We got to just get back to educating and
No,
knowing
people
our
have to
laws.
start reading. Not in school. They have to search out the books before they burn them and ban them in libraries.
Know. It's happening.
Huxley's Brave New World. There's just so many books they've got to read. 1984. You got to read these
George
books.
Orwell.
You got to read these books, because if you don't understand what is going, you're going to be a victim of what is. And we're close. This is a very close.
Yeah.
When in doubt, put fear into the environment, or start a war, and look,
We're
United
there.
States, we've been at war since I can remember. When I was a kid, it was Vietnam.
It's all a different enemy.
I mean,
Project Bluebeam. Everybody look it up.
we've been at war. We're at war now with Russia by proxy.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that's even a scam.
I mean,
all of it.
We're at war. So, we got to stop the wars. There's no peace marches. Back when I was a kid, my older sisters were marching in peace marches in the 60s. We had music. Rock and roll was, kind of protest music.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But you know what? That generation started to conform. We got older.
Yeah.
Well, they got older and got to get a job.
Yeah.
Got a mortgage.
Yep.
Got to raise kids.
Yep.
Start to toe the line. You got to work for a corporation. It's a whole other thing. This generation, as brilliant as it is, they got to speak up. They got involved. And the fact, if they do, and I'm hopeful, I'm an optimist about it. I think they can, but they don't understand the dangers of having AI promoted the way it is right now.
Yeah.
It can be a great benefit to all of us.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a great danger, and they're evil. And it's not the young people that are evil. It's not the old farts.
Yeah.
In this world,
I know.
that are trying for some reason. Maybe they think they're going to die, and that's their legacy. I can't figure out why these old farts are trying to control so much of the world. They're going to be dead soon.
It's demonic at its core. It really is.
In 5 or 10 years, a lot of these old farts are dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds like they're innocent victims. Like when I look at kids younger than me, kids in school, all the, like this.
So lost.
Honestly, people just younger than me, myself. I'm 24, and even people my own age as well. And it's like, it's not your fault. It's some of your fault for not wanting to not continuing educating yourself. You should never stop growing your mind, yourself, all that stuff. Of course, in life, you go through different waves where maybe you're low at a certain point and then you get back on, you know? I'm not blaming you for that. But it's like, it's not your fault because it's being shoved down your throat, all this bad stuff. And it's like almost like you're an innocent victim. And you have a certain role. Everyone has a role to be able to push past that. But if you don't know or hear it somewhere that I have to be doing that, or if you don't have like a parent that's like guiding you to like keep going forward and learn and expand, or have a role model or something that is pushing you further, then you're at a great disservice, I think.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing. That's, you know, there really is no excuse in my eyes, you know, because, you know, we live in the information age, and, you know, I know it's a blessing and a curse, but there in everyone's life, I would almost bet my life on it that everyone gets multiple opportunities to get on said path of discovery of whatever truth is. You know what I mean? And do that. But then there's a moment where people go, I don't really care anymore. I'm just gonna, you know, it's almost like I've said it one time before. It's like, sometimes I wish I didn't know anything because ignorance is bliss. It really is. That scene in The Matrix where the guy's eating the steak and he's all, I know this is fake, but it's just so good. And it's just like, that's a majority of society. And it's sad because they have, with propaganda of medication, the media, you said music, it's so sad. You could see they're in bed with the music industry easily, so influential. The hurts that they have to put music out is at a level where it manipulates the brain and makes it easy to be whatever they want you to be, you know, disrespectful to your whatever, blah, whatever.
There's a lot of hazards. There's a lot of hazards, but, you know, I read this book when I was a kid. It's called A Man-Child in the Promised Land. It was about a black kid in a ghetto and how he, of all his friends and influences and culture, he got himself out. Mm-hmm. And we're all in the ghetto. We're in a big ghetto on this planet right now. And we all have to fight to get ourselves out. And the fight to get ourselves out is to know what the truth is and to understand the truth and not to be complacent about listening to, you know, there's a very famous comedian, George Carlin, he says, if the government is not your friend, he said, I don't believe anything the government says. And we shouldn't. The government is not your doctor, which they played doctor through the whole pandemic. They mandated everyone, regardless of their health or whatever their clinical problems were, you got to get some medication called a shot. That's not being the government. That's being suppressive. You got to discuss with your doctor what's right for you, and you got to make a choice. Why are they mandating things? So we have to wake up. Truth is the cure, but you got to not take the truth and sit on it. If you have the truth, you got to share it with your brother, sister, father, despite what they're going to do.
Yeah.
Because if you don't confront them with truth, not fight them, but confront them with truth.
Coming from a place of love.
Yeah. And sometimes it's got to be hard love.
Yeah, exactly.
Not tough love. I don't think love has to be meek, you know?
Yeah.
There was a good saying, one of my favorite podcasters, he says, you know, it's what does he say? The geeks will inherit the earth, not the meek. And that's a bad thing, too, because the geeks are running the planet, too.
Oh, right now, I know. Bill Gates, jeez.
We have some evil people that are doing some bad stuff. Bill Gates has killed a lot of people in a lot of ways, and he's a very bad character. And let him sue me.
I know, he's horrible.
But the fact is, him and Fauci, and there's a whole
Klaus Schwab and Soros.
So I mean, we could, you know, and if we're turning off some of the viewers,
this is
you got to look at this as truth.
Yeah.
We went from health to politics, but the truth is, if you're not healthy, you can't think and
Properly.
hold facts in your brain.
Yeah.
And we were joking before we got on, say, an interviewer went to some students at USC in the West Coast, asked them,
Simple.
point blank, simple question, what is 2 times 2 plus 1? They couldn't answer it. Asked them, what's the capital of the United States? Several said there was no capital in the United States. These are college students. Another one was asked, what ocean is on the East Coast? Is it the Pacific?
It's embarrassing.
Countries
are
Jay
laughing.
Leno, the comedian Jay Leno?
Yeah.
He used to have a bit where he'd go on the street and ask people these questions, and the laugh was that they couldn't answer the damn question.
Yeah. No, yeah.
So we are dumbing down society. I'm scared stiff about that because these are the guys that are going to run the next the next government. You know what I mean? They don't know anything. They don't know history. They're wiping out history in the schools. They're blocking books. It's like Fahrenheit 451. I don't know. I just turned 67, and I'm scared for the planet, but I'm going to do whatever I can to help as many people as I can now. But the fact is, we got to get a voice out.
Yeah.
And you guys, you're young.
And that's why we're doing this.
You got influence.
Yeah, that's why we do this. That's why we have this media company. We realized there's, these things existed. We realized that a long time ago. And we said, in the media with mainstream and even, boil it down to Twitter and all those social media platforms, there's got to be a yin and a yang in life. Everybody knows that. That's a fact. There's a dark and a positive to everything, right? So why couldn't we be the positive voice for that?
Just keep telling the truth. That's a secret in chiropractic that I was alluding to. When chiropractors tell the truth to their patients come to their offices in busloads. And when chiropractors can't rack their mind around what the truth is about healing in chiropractic, they have empty offices. And a lot of my professional colleagues are suffering from empty offices because they don't know how to tell the truth to their patient. It's scary.
Yeah.
You got to confront people, I mean, I have people come to me all day long from Yale, New Haven, Mayo Clinic, HSS, ONS, FUCK. They come from all over the place. The thing is, they tell me, I have this problem. And I said, well, you went to the best of the best in the medical field. Why are you here at this chiropractic office in
Westport, Connecticut.
Yeah, Westport, Connecticut. Why are you sitting with me? I don't have a fancy office. Because no one solved my problem. I heard you can. Chiropractors have always been the catcher in the rye, the last resort before the cliff. That's how we built our practice. I built my practice on medical failures. And we have a pretty big practice for what we generate. And it's just telling people the truth.
Yeah.
And being honest with them. I know when I can help them. I know when someone else can help them.
Yeah.
I know when we both can help them.
Right. Combo mambo.
But I don't put drugs in them.
Yeah.
I put nutrition.
Exactly. Supplements, I'm sure vitamins.
Mental attitude.
Yeah, exactly.
Supplements, health, exercise. How do you get well?
I know. It's the basics. It really is. Real quick, I know this has been just so awesome. We're definitely gonna have to have a part 2. I already know it. What is, you talked about some books. First of all, where can people find, where is his YouTube's Proper Doctor? If you want to follow him or subscribe.
2 P's and proper.
Yeah, 2 P's.
2 P's and proper.
Where's the practice website? Give him that.
Our practice is in Westport. It's on 375 Post Road West in Westport near the Whole Foods Market.
Yep.
My website is properchiro.com. 2 P's.
Yeah. Reach out. YouTube is a Proper Doctor. TikTok
Doctor.
as well. He's on there. And then also, we talked about this before. Give us a book that you love or that it helped you or that you're reading maybe now. And
Well, there's a great book. There's a couple of books. When I was in junior high school, my gym teacher, hygiene teacher, gave me a book called Psycho-Cybernetics. Psycho-Cybernetics was written by a plastic surgeon who, as he was doing plastic surgery on people, he found that they'd come in for a reason to be happier. And he found that no matter what surgery did to make them look better, they never really got it, and they were always psychically depressed. So we developed a system and of helping people get their mental attitude aligned with their physical.
Like basically loving themselves.
Psycho and cybernetics is steering of the mind.
Cool.
So
Great recommendation right there.
And Think and Grow Rich, that was, my all-time favorite. I've got my original copy in my office.
That's
Literally
the
the
one
best.
I'm bringing on. I leave for vacation tomorrow, and I just close to finish Shoe Dog, and I'm bringing my Think and Grow Rich book to start reading.
No, I think that is a necessity to someone in life because you hear the title Think and Grow Rich, but it's so much more.
It's brilliant.
It really is.
It's brilliant. And, all those books. I mean, I have all Napoleon Hill's books.
Yeah.
And, listen to all his tapes. And we had lots of, Dennis Wheatley. And Dennis Wheatley was an interesting guy. He helped a lot of Olympic athletes with their mindset.
Sports psychology type stuff. Yeah,
right?
Cool.
So, and some people read the Bible, but don't read it literally. Read it for the message. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
Let's face it. It's got a message in it. All of these books pull out from that philosophy, but those were the ones that would be off the top of my head.
Love those. I love those recommendations. And then lastly, some advice to a younger you out there.
Younger me, take care of your health and don't wait. Start now. If you're a teenager, if you're younger, start taking the right supplements. Women, you need to take the right supplements for your bones. You got to start teenage years to make your bones healthy through your life, especially when you get to menopause. Have kids. Don't play around. See a chiropractor. You got to start early in life to prevent problems. Problems start from birth. Getting pulled out of the womb, falling, playing sports. You're knocked around. Those vertebrae are out of alignment. You're cutting your life force. If you have allergies, headaches, stomach problems, if you got ADD, ADHD, a lot of these things are related to the spine, believe it or not. Your nervous system's overactive. Your brain chemicals can't work and your nervous system can't function. Chiropractic can really be a source. And also, chiropractors are a great source of health, period. We're knowledgeable about nutrition. We're knowledgeable about exercise. We're knowledgeable about the nervous system. We're knowledgeable about physiology. You go to your medical doctor, you don't get any of that.
No.
Just having a relationship with a chiropractor can save you a lot of money because you get a lot of stuff. I know. I consult my patients. I don't charge them for all my wisdom. My wife says, start charging everything that comes out of your mouth. Start now. If you're young, you got to take advantage now. You can't hoist beers and not take care of yourself on Monday morning.
Yeah, exactly.
Doesn't work.
And that's a perfect. I really love that because balance is everything. You
have fun.
Yes,
but take care of yourself so your body can heal.
And do it again, right?
Don't kill all the brain cells in your 20s.
Leave some for the 60s
Leave some
and 70s.
for the 60s and 70s.
Yeah.
Let me tell you,
you're gonna want them.
You're gonna need them.
Yeah. Yep. Doctor, this is awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate it.